Streaming. There we go. I can hit the right button when I really put my mind
Recording
to
in
it.
progress.
But it does. It takes a little bit extra brain power, which I'm not quite used to. Let's see if it actually kicks up. And if you are joining us live, then hello.
Yes.
If you're not, then hello to no one. We appreciate you being here.
I guess I'll do the intro then. Welcome to the Polygon Forest. My name is Chris. I'm making an indie game, and joined with me, as ever, is Ubisoft concept artist Vin Hill. Vin, hello.
Hey, how's it going?
And let's do this. So today, on episode 15, first of all, happy Traitors Day.
Yeah, you
Rebel
damn
scum.
Americans, like being all happy about your independence. How dare you leave us a wonderful system that we had? All we were trying to do was get a few more taxes out of you because
We just wanted some more tax.
We just wanted some more tax because, you know, we had to fight a war for you, and you just ungrateful. That's all they are. Ungrateful. I'm
ungrateful.
Yeah.
And you know, the fireworks I feel is a bit inflammatory. It's a bit rubbing our face in it. You know, this is what we would have done. We would have made more explosions.
Right. We're clearly joking, by the way. We're clearly joking.
Yeah, we're clearly joking. Happy holidays to everyone, and hope you have a great day. But yeah, Guy Fawkes, we set up fireworks on the 5th of November.
We do.
Because he was a traitor to the crown.
Sure.
And then 4th of July, they do the same thing with the fireworks. It's like...
Yeah, but it's almost like they're all the Guy Fawkes.
It's all against us. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, they should make like little models of like the Houses of Parliament and blow them up every year.
Blow that up.
That would be funny.
Because that's kind of what the fireworks represent.
Yeah,
really.
I think so too.
Interesting that all that money's just going to China.
There is some irony in that.
There is some irony there. Yeah.
There does have to be. Some
or
irony.
Mexico as well. They do good fireworks. Anyway, off topic, off track. Gosh. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut announcement. Trailers come out. Housemarque has been brought by Sony and a couple of other devs as well. Mm-hmm. What does that mean for the industry? And also, this is one of my favourite headlines that I've ever written. I haven't written that many. Professor Vin teaches at our old stomping ground.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah, okay.
So,
I guess we do have to talk about that.
We have to talk about that. Vin did a lecture at our old university, Norwich University of the Arts.
Indeed.
And we'll talk about that. But first, we can talk about what we've been playing, what we've been up to this week. Mm-hmm. So, what have you been up to? What have you been playing? Have you just been preparing for the lecture?
Pretty much, yeah.
Just
sat on my computer, like thinking through what I was going to talk about just over and over again. Didn't really play that many games, if I'm honest. My finger's still hurting, still being a bitchy, complaining little so and so because my poor finger hurts me, so I can't play video games. Like who cares? Nobody cares. But yeah, I haven't been playing that many games. I've played through like the beginning level of Demon Souls like 3 times now in different characters and builds, like trying to like find something that works for me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that game is kicking my ass, like big time. Like it's hard, man. Like it's probably one of the harder ones, I guess. But I don't know if it's harder because it's actually harder, or if it's just the style of game is a little bit different to what I'm used to in any other Souls games.
Else.
So it's kind of trying to get my head around it. A lot of ambushes, a lot of annoying sort of enemies that just hide in corners and stuff and then jump out at you and stab you in the side of the face. It's just like, yeah, great, thanks. Appreciate that, dude.
It's quite realistic, though. If I was like a skeleton that was possessed and there was this like adventurer coming through, I'd totally want to ambush you.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't want to just like appear from a door and start ambling towards you.
Right. You wouldn't do what they actually do in video games, where they just go in the same circle around a crate over and over again until you can like sneak by them. It's like, no, you would just hide in a corner and wait and like, I like his face, and then just take it out from the shadows. Like, of course you would. That'd be the easy way of doing it.
Yeah.
But yeah, not honestly. Yeah, I really haven't been playing that much. Just a little bit of Demon Souls. I'm gonna get back to it. Still having fun with it when my poor finger isn't hurting me.
Poor little finger. But it's going to be ages because you're using it like 8 hours a day in your day job.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. Like, I can hold a pencil like this, and that's fine. But like moving the finger is what does it. So like, it's not so bad when I'm drawing, but when I'm like constantly using my index fingers for triggers, like it gets riled up. So It is what it is.
That little bit of clip there we can totally use for GIFs later on. So that'd be good.
Just me
that
doing this.
And that.
Yeah.
It's going to be some good content.
I can imagine so.
To get the viewers on.
Indeed. Oh well, it's all good. But how about you? What have you been up to? What have you been playing?
I've been getting more into my game. Actually, been making quite a lot of my games. I haven't been gaming too much.
Oh, you mean like developing or?
Yeah, my indie game, Focus Find, that I've been working on, working title at the moment. I've been just really focusing on that, doing a load more levels, redoing loads of the levels that I've been working on. Had a bit of a different approach on how I'm tackling the level design aspect of it, and I'm like 20% of the way through it now. So
nice. But
productivity has really increased, and I've been putting on Twitter, and lots of people have been retweeting and liking the tweets. So that's been really good.
Awesome.
Of the games. But I have been playing a lot of Uncharted 4 as well.
Oh, sweet. So you actually started diving into this?
That's a great game. That is a great game.
It's very cinematic. Really, yeah.
But what you said is totally true.
Yeah.
At the end, it drags on.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's like I've never had a game that's dragged on at the end that I have simultaneously had the feeling of, man, this is dragging on. But isn't it weird that I'm still enjoying it at the same amount as I was before it was dragging on?
Yeah.
It's like nothing is being added with the extra time in terms of my emotional commitment to the characters or the story. Like, so anything could happen in the story, and I'm going to be as invested as I was when they got to the last. Spoiler alert! It's been out for a long time. Last island.
Yeah.
I think it's the last island. God, I hope it is. I hope they don't go anywhere else.
So this is the problem, right? Like, you don't know when it ends.
Yeah. No, this is it. Like the game, most games as well, they give you clues. Like, oh, have you done everything you need to do? Because we're going to be a while doing this thing. So make sure you get all your unfinished business done first. Like that's a total video game staple. And in this game, because it's like a linear game, it doesn't happen. But time and time again, they say, oh, we just need to get over this ridge. We just need to go over here. We just need to find this. We just need to do that. And then story happens.
Right.
And then you're waylaid, and then you're diverted, and you're delayed, and then something happens. You need to go somewhere else. And that happens literally 2 or 3 times. Big spoilers, don't want to give too much away. Yeah. But there are big things that happen which extend the game beyond my anticipation. But not in a great way. Not like I get more game. More like that's interesting. I thought I was going to be done with this playthrough, but now I'm going to have to stop and come back to it again. I thought I was nearly there. So in terms of like hours of playthrough, it's affecting how I physically play the game. So I don't know if that's a good thing. For a guy who's making his own indie game and has a kid and has a life and has a day job, it's not great.
Right, you'd like it to wrap up. Yeah, I know.
I would have liked it to have wrapped up. And I honestly think the game would be as well reviewed, as well received, if it was like 20% shorter at the end.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly where I landed on as well. I remember distinctly, like, when I finished playing it. And I'm a huge sort of Uncharted fan. Like, I really love them games. But the fourth one, I just don't know why. I don't know what it was. But the fourth one, just when you get, like, 80% into it, it's just that last 20%. It's just like, okay, like, it's time to wrap this thing up. Like, it's dragging a little bit now. Like, it really doesn't need to be that long. And I think they sort of had this similar problem in the Last of Us Part 2 as well. Like, the same sort of, okay, it's time to wrap this up now. It's just, it's dragging a little.
Yeah, I think so. And playing Uncharted 4 after playing The Last of Us 2, there's so many similarities in terms of some of the dialogue is very similar, which is weird. And some of the cutscenes have got a similar vein, and what you can actually do in them is very, very similar as well. And the details of where people live, I found that was the major similarity. Like looking at, they put a lot of detail and energy and effort into. This is Nick Drake. Is it Nick Drake?
Yeah.
Yeah, his house, and the same sort of thing with Joel from Last of Us 2. So that was good. I mean, I'm really loving Troy Baker's voice acting with Tommy, the brother. I think he's great.
Yeah, their performances are, they're fantastic, to be fair.
They're some of the best video game performances together, and their back and forth is really good. But yeah, I just want it to end.
Yeah. No, it is a great game though, and I think you're right. Like I remember at the time when I was in the run up to Uncharted 4 coming out, there was a lot of people that were really concerned and worried that it was going to be too much like The Last of Us almost. Like they were concerned that it wasn't going to have that Uncharted sort of, fun to it anymore.
The adventure, Indiana Jones type, swashbuckling thing.
You've diverted that whole conversation, thankfully, because like it didn't end up that way. But you're right, like it has got some elements of The Last of Us that bleed into Uncharted 4 in a good way though. Like it's probably the best bits, like the overgrown environments and stuff like that, just like the level of detail that went up with it, and just like the moments of the story that needed that extra beat of seriousness. Like it has them, but it's not like everyone was going into Uncharted 4 like, oh, certain characters are going to die and like this is going to happen, and like, oh, what if this happens, and all this sort of, like it was like this moment of dread like came over everyone that they thought it was going to be just this horrible mess, but no, it turned out great. Like, but yeah.
And the rope mechanic is great. I love that mechanic.
Fantastic, yeah, absolutely.
That isn't really getting too old. It's just the story beats and just the climbing, really. Like, they could have cut out half the climbing at the last bit, and it could have really.
Yeah, I'm guessing a lot of that is to hide loading screens. I'm guessing like there's just elements in the background just constantly populating.
It takes time,
and it's just like, okay, I've got half an hour to climb up this rock, and it's like hopefully the level finished loading by the time I get up there. But very odd.
Yeah, but they're bringing in mechanics with you get the pick right at the end. I think that's really nice. I love mechanics. I see. This is the thing. Story elements in the last chapter, like the last quarter of the game, terrible. Yeah, terrible. Like The Last of Us 2, where they went to Santa Barbara and all that sort of stuff was just chopped on the end, and it.
Yeah, objectively bad storytelling. Yeah.
Where you got new enemies with no backstory and no involvement emotionally, that are just the end baddies, and we can talk about that for a long time. That's a discussion for another time. Yeah. But when you add mechanics towards the end of the game, that is great. Like Ghost of Tsushima did that, where you have the mountain level where you've got to get to the campfires. That was like in the last third of the game,
right?
And that was like a side mission, but it was like this whole new mechanic that you had to master, if you like, with this. It was a fairly long side mission. I think it was for some.
God, I'm looking forward to replaying that game. So,
but yes, we might as well talk about Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah, we can move on to that. Actually, that's a good point. That's a great segue. But yeah, do you want to kick us off for that?
So, the Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut announcement trailer has been released, and for me, the major thing is that it's called the Director's Cut. We were discussing last week whether or not it was going to be Ghost of Tsushima 2, how that would work as a full standalone game.
Yep.
Whether or not there was going to be any DLC, if it was going to be like a DLC. But the marketing department thought it would be a good idea to call it Director's Cut. What's your initial thought on that? Because I've got my own.
I had to kick myself in the foot because like you ended up being right on a lot of stuff when it came to this sort of thing, and I'm like, I'm gonna have to admit that I was wrong about everything next week. But yeah, it was great. I'm thankful for that because it means that they've gone in and edited stuff which probably needed the tweaks or something. Maybe they got some feedback and they were just like, okay, if we had another shot at this, then it'd be great to be able to do that. And I think this might actually be like one of the first big high profile games that's had a quote unquote director's cut. We have a lot of like game of the year editions and stuff, but director's cut to me tells me that they're going in and actually physically changing some aspects of either the story or the game itself.
Yeah,
which they've already announced like some of the mechanics that they're updating, like they're making it look prettier, and they've obviously got this whole like sort of DLC which we spoke about last week, but they've now gone into a little bit more detail on it, but we still don't know that much about it apart from that Jin is still the main character in the Ikishima story.
Yes, he is still the main character.
Yeah, look how happy you are. Look how happy. You're so proud of yourself.
To the island, and he's going to be doing some more work.
That is fair. But yeah, no,
a whole new character.
I mean, like the only thing that is different about like the whole idea of like a quote unquote director's cut is just how what they're actually going to do within that and how they're going to change the game for the better. Hopefully, obviously, like then they're probably not going to change the ending or anything like that. Like that's a given. The story's great
because
by itself.
The ending has happened, so it has to be after the fact. But it sounds like Jin from the trailer is kind of revisiting it feels like it's going to be doing some more of the back and forth between the uncle and Jin, like some more backstory. So exploring that side of things. So coming to face with his past a bit more, like he did with some of the missions in the game, which is a really creative way to keep all of your main character mechanics and coding and all that sort of stuff all the same, because it is DLC basically, isn't it? We're talking about DLC.
Yeah, absolutely.
For me, the fact that they went with the director's cut and not a DLC isn't ideal, because to me, with film, director's cut is when the director has a vision for a product, and his team or her team work on that vision, and the studio says we need to do this, or time constraints or budget restraints means that the finished product gets released and sent out.
Yeah.
And then later on, if the film is a success, then the director's vision can be realized. Well, from what I understand about video games is that, yes, there's a video game director, but much of what goes into making a video game is the creative collaboration between lots of different teams of people.
Yeah.
So even people like, mission, people that would just be brought in to do missions, people that would just be brought in to do story, people that would be brought in just to look at environments and stuff like that. And so I don't like the term director's cut, because that suggests that people were working towards one person's vision.
True.
But to me, video games are more of a collaboration of creativity, and you arrive at something greater than one person's vision. For example, like, what was it, Cory Barlog, the director of God of War? He wanted it to take place in like ancient Egypt, but because of the input of people and situations and other games being announced and the team that he had, they went with what they came up with. So if it was going to be a director's cut of like God of War, it'd be taking place in ancient Egypt.
Right.
And so I just don't like that term. To me, it sounds like the marketing team got together and thought, oh, we've got a small DLC. Do we call it DLC Lite? Do we call it, added extra bits? It's more than a DLC because we've got the PS5 haptic feedback going on. We've got the Japanese lip syncing going on, which are like features that can affect the game. If you played the game from the word go, you've got all that extra feature. So it's not like an addition. So I can understand where their logic was coming from.
Yeah.
Because you can play in Japanese voice actors with the voice acting being lip synced as well. Which is really weird, actually, if you think about it. Because the actors were speaking and performing, and all the mocap was done in English. And then later on, people came and dubbed it in Japanese.
Yeah.
And then later on, the animators synced up the lip syncing to the Japanese.
Yeah,
that's really weird, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not a.
That's bonkers if you think about it.
It's kind of a backwards way of doing it, but it's also not a day of work sort of thing. Like that's a hell of a lot more work than people think. But yeah. Very cool.
So every cutscene, every single cutscene, that's a lot of work. So that's going to make people want to go back and play it from the beginning. It certainly makes me want to go play it back from the beginning. I might play it from the beginning, like in black and white as well.
I'll give you an hour, and then you'll switch it back to color a bit.
To be honest, though, the colors are amazing in that game.
Yeah. I mean, and that's another thing that they're upgrading as well, is they're boosting up all the textures or something, I think, in the game. I'm actually going to find a list of all the stuff that actually gets...
It's going to be 60 FPS at 4K on the PS5. I know that off the top of my head. I was impressed by that, because that is... Xbox has been ticking that box more so than PlayStation thus far. So the fact that there's a game that's been released that's that new... that is being done on PlayStation exclusive, that is at hitting those markers, that is quite impressive, because the game didn't come out that long ago.
Yeah.
The other thing, and again, this is another thing which I'm not happy about, that is that it is so soon. I would have preferred them to take a few more years and come out with a bigger game. What they can literally achieve in the time in which the game was released, I'm thinking it's only going to be 2 or 3 single player missions at most on a small island, and then there's all the multiplayer elements as well, which I never really got into before. But
yeah, I never actually played them, so I I haven't really got an opinion on him either way in that respect.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to trying it out though. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is tough. I understand like your sort of reservations towards like a director's cut or what would be a director's cut, but for me, it really depends on what is in the director's cut. Because if it is, like you said, just like a market employ, and this is just them slapping a label on it and be like, oh, it's called a director's cut because people know what that is, right? Hey, like it means extra content or whatever. If it is just that, then that'll sort of suck. But if they do fundamentally change the stories in some way, like you probably do have to call it a director's cut, even though it, like you said, video games are not made in a vacuum. They're not made by single people. That's why I get really annoyed when like Hideo Kojima puts like his name on top of his games. Like that really annoys me because he's got hundreds of people underneath him that are just constantly like pitching him ideas and coming up with cool stuff.
And when skimming it off and taking the credit.
When he just takes all the credit, like writ large, like literally takes all the credit because his name is on the top of it's on the box, sort of thing. It really frustrates me and it annoys me. So like I don't know what like wordage they would come up with to sort of counter that. Director's cut would be like developer's cut, maybe. Like that would be like that would be the best.
That. That's I quite like that. Marketing probably would never hate that, and it probably it would probably come back really bad, but I like that.
Yeah, I mean, this is the problem with video games industry, I guess, in general. Like, we're constantly in the shadow of the movie industry, even though we're actually bigger than the movie industry at the moment. Like, we make more money than movies, like, per year. Like, way more. We make more money than the movie and the music industry combined every year. We make a lot of money. But we're still, like, culturally, we're in the shadow of films.
Playing second fiddle culturally, for sure. Yeah.
So we still have to use all this verbiage from the movie industry because people have grown up with movies. They've been watching special features for years, or they understand what a director is. They understand what a producer does. They understand what a rigger is, and like they understand like the behind the scenes stuff a lot better than they understand the behind the scenes stuff of video games. Like an associate producer in a film is completely different. Like it's night and day to what an associate producer is in a video game. And the same goes for the director as well. Like people look at the director like, oh, he's the end all be all for film. But in games, it's really not so... That isn't really that true. They're more there to guide the ship sort of thing. And they're there to sort of make sure the game gets finished with the executive producers and stuff. Like the people that really sort of carry the vision of the game these days are creative directors, which are sort of different. Of all the
different departments, all coming together and doing their thing.
So it's always a little bit different, and it depends on the game as well. Like obviously we put a lot more stock in certain games for their stories, and then other stock in other games for different aspects. Like nobody knows who wrote the Demon Souls games, right? Any of the Souls games, but we know who directed them because we care about the gameplay. But then there's other things like with The Last of Us, like everyone cares that Neil Druckmann wrote it because like everyone cares about the writing. So it's not the same as film whatsoever. So like I do agree, like director's cut, quote unquote, is probably a bad title for it, but fundamentally like it depends what they're trying to achieve with the game is what I really care about. Like if they're actually doing a cut where they're including more stuff and they're removing other things that they didn't quite agree with, or maybe they're going to play with the choice that you have at the end of Ghost of Tsushima, which I'm not going to spoil here. Like the actual choice that it gives to the player, it's like, okay, this is going to fundamentally change the outcome of the game.
Okay.
Are they going to play with that a little bit more and stuff like that? And is that going to affect the expansion on the like the Ikishima expansion based on what choices you made there? And things like that, you know, there's all these different questions around this, which it's sort of we won't know until we actually get there. Because if it is just adding stuff and not fundamentally changing anything, then it's not really a director's cut. You know, it's not really not even a developer's cut. It's like you said, it's just a Game of the Year edition with expansion packs on it. Like you should have just called it the Game of the Year edition if that was the case. But it
wasn't Game of the Year.
Right, it was my Game of the Year, and that's all that matters.
It was my Game of the Year. Yeah. But that's interesting you say that. I've not thought about that because they changed Mass Effect 3 ending, and in the end they gave you more choice.
Right.
So it'd be interesting, like, direction to go in where they remove choice to improve the player experience, especially if it meant that you could then have more story after the fact. Yeah, I get that, and I'm on board with that. But more to the point, it was no one's asking for that change.
That's true.
So that's interesting as well. So if they do that, it would be a completely creative, like, we just think this is better. No one's asked for it, no one wants it, no one had a problem with the ending, but this is where we want to go.
But saying that, like, even though, and you made this point before, like, even though the game just came out last year, it's a relatively new game. It's only been out 12 months, I think. It's 12 months, like this month, I think it is.
I think so, yeah.
So it's a relatively new game. However, like there's people on my Twitter feed that are saying, I just finished this last month. I am quite happy to play this again in August. And I haven't played it in a year, and I got the platinum on that game. I am itching to dive back into that game, and the fact that it's only like an extra $30 just to upgrade to the director's cut with all the extra stuff is pretty cool. Like I'm happy with that. But I'm sure there's plenty of people out there as well that have just finished the game. That's like, it's a bit soon, isn't it? Like, what's the point of this? Like, I've only just finished it last week. Like, people like yourself, like, you're probably not ready to dive in straight away, I'm guessing.
Well, I don't know. It was a great game, but I've probably got more of a backlog, and it's like Uncharted 4 was like 16 quid. And it's like, damn, that's like a great game that I missed out on.
It's hard to beat that value. Yeah, it's hard to beat that value.
That's so much value, and I've probably got other PlayStation games that are great games that I've not played that are cheaper.
Yeah.
But I also want to buy a PlayStation 5, pay the 30 quid, and then see what it's like I'm playing on 4K on a 4K TV, but see what it's like at 60 FPS and see if there is much of a difference.
I was going to say, like, I forgot to mention this to you, but it might not be the same in the UK, but it's definitely is in North America at least. But if you actually buy a PS5 and you log into your PlayStation Gold account, if you PlayStation Plus account, Gold, like too much Xbox. If you log into your PlayStation Plus account, then you actually get, I think it's like 30 of the top PS4 games for free. Like, it's included in your account. So that includes like The Last of Us and God of War and Uncharted and stuff like that. I think Bloodborne's in there. So you should go and check if that is the case, because that would probably, like, for someone such as yourself that's looking to get a PS5 anyway, you might actually save money by getting a PS5 earlier, and then you get all them games included anyway. Like, there's like Ratchet in there, Bloodborne's in there.
Because Bloodborne's definitely on the list.
Right, there's a lot of great games in there, it just so happened that when I loaded it up, I think there was all but 2 of the games I'd already bought, already finished, and it was like, God damn it! Like, I wish I was one of those people. But I forgot to mention it. Like, you should totally check that out to see if that's a thing for you, and as well, like any of our listeners as well. If you're on the fence about getting a PS5, then like
that's something which the marketing department hasn't got through to me. So
absolutely, yeah,
something that you've got through to me. You good?
Yeah, no, it's just someone at the door. That's all.
Oh, okay, cool. On a Sunday, gosh.
I know, we're busy. That's my wife. It's
my wife.
It's my wife. But yeah, looking over the list of stuff that they're actually including into Ghost of Tsushima.
Run through it. Yeah.
Yeah. So cinematic lip sync and animations for the Japanese voiceover settings, which you've already mentioned. The haptic feedback on the PS5, which does make a huge difference, I do have to say, like for certain games anyway, but for action adventure games, like it feels pretty good.
Yeah.
Haptic feedback, adaptive triggers, same thing, like with the resistance on the triggers, very cool. 3D audio support, I don't care, don't play games with my headphones on because my wife is a backseat gamer and she likes watching me.
So you have to play it through the TV.
On
the flip side of that, I've got these awesome headphones, so I could probably make use of that.
Yeah, I've got like these nice like $300 Sony headphones, which are just cream of the cream. Like, they're amazing.
But you never play games with it.
But I never play games with it. I know, man. It brings me pain. But there it is. The only other things are faster loading times, obviously with the SSD.
It was pretty fast.
I never noticed it. Yeah,
it was really fast.
I rarely fast traveled either, I guess. Like
I was always, because I was trying to pick up all the bits and bobs afterwards and visit all of the places and get to all the foxes and stuff.
Did you get the platinum?
I think I ran out of steam.
Terrible. Awful. What is the point of view? Jesus. What is I'm only kidding.
I'm not a pony. What can I say?
Indeed. Dynamic 4K resolution targeting 60 FPS. They're the only things that have been confirmed. But there is
targeting 60 FPS. Okay.
And it's dynamic 4K as well.
So, what does that mean?
It means it's actually probably like 2K and they're just upscaling it. And it whenever you hit a heavier area, then it'll drop it down to 2K.
Go down.
But then if it goes into an area where there's not much processing going on, then it'll bump it back up to 4K. So but it happens on the fly. Like you'll never notice a difference. Like it's funny. Like I'm one of those guys. I'll watch the Digital Foundry videos all the time, and watch like, oh, this game is only 58 FPS instead of 60 and stuff like this. I'm like, oh, you can like, but what have you noticed that and stuff? And then you play the game and it's running at like 40 FPS, and you never notice.
You don't care anyway. Yeah.
Especially when it comes to resolution. Especially, I never
Action adventure games as well. It's not really that important, is it?
Yeah, no, I don't think so. The only time that I really care about 60 FPS is with first-person shooters. That's the only time.
The swordplay and the quick time in events as well of Ghost of Tsushima never felt sluggish or inaccurate. It always felt quite crisp and clean.
Like I'm gonna boast a little bit here, but I definitely got the platinum on that game, unlike some people that I know around here. But I never ran into any lag or anything like that on Ghost of Tsushima, so I'm more than happy with the upgrades that we do get. But yeah, that remains to be seen if there's any other stuff that's going to be added to it. There's probably going to be other upgrades for how the game actually looks as well. I'm sure there's going to be PS5 sort of texture boosts in the game somewhere. There's just got to be, like there's no way that they're just boosting up to 4K and that's it. Like hopefully there's other stuff in the
texture stuff. Yeah,
in the pipe as well. That'd be very cool. But we'll see.
That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, but I'm obviously like the newest thing about all of this, like the thing that we haven't really mentioned, which we did mention a lot last week, is the expansion for Tsushima. So yes, it remains to be seen how much value that's worth, how long it is, how big it is. We don't know like what new features are in it. Nothing. All we've seen is a few like fleeting shots of
tiny little clips,
pretty mountain ranges in the background and stuff. Looks very nice, but
it looked very nice, but it just looked like they could have been taken more of the same. Which
I'm probably alright with at this point.
Yeah, I'm not disappointed with that. Like if it looked like a brick, like just a murky dungeon, like what are they doing?
Yeah.
But yeah, it wasn't anything that took my breath away and going, well, they've stepped it up. It just looked more the same, which is, within a year of the title being released, totally fair enough, and not expecting anything else.
Yeah, the other things that were confirmed in the official press release was new Jin armor, of course, new horse armor, of course, new mini games, new fighting techniques. You were asking for a new stance.
I was asking for new stance.
So it says new fighting technique. I don't know what that means. That might just mean that they're expanding the trees they've already got. I'm guessing that's what it means. But if they do have a new tree, then that'd be very, very cool.
They must have listened to the episode and then just do
within like 2 days. They were like, you know what, we can add all this stuff in a week. That's fine. New enemies, new environments. Yeah, no shit. Of course, there's gonna be new environments. Controller mapping options and new trophies. That's all.
It would be absolutely hilarious if they just copied and pasted like the middle part of Southern Island and just went, yeah, that's the other island.
I'll do it. Yeah, and I'd probably still buy it. I don't care, honestly. At this point, I'm all right.
I'm glad I didn't sell my physical copy because I usually trade in my games, but because of COVID and stuff, I've been to a game shop.
Yeah, that is an interesting thing we've never spoken about because I'm an all digital gamer. I have been since probably 2012. So I don't buy games physically anymore. So I don't have that problem anymore, I guess.
So does that mean you'd have to pay full whack for the new version, or how does that work? Because digital copies get like 30 quid upgrade or something.
Yeah. So you can pre-order the upgrade for the director's cut on PS4 for $19.99.
Oh, so that's for everyone then.
Yeah, but if you bought the PS4 director's cut, you'll be able to upgrade to the PS5. Yeah, so it's $30 for the upgrade from the PS4 version, which I do have, to the PS5 version. So
regardless of whether or not it's digital or not.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, that's good then. Fine. Yes. No, I tend to buy physical copies and then trade them in, but I've been, rather than going into a shop and buying them, I've been ordering them and then getting them sent through the post, which I guess is my version of digital.
Right.
not
It's
going
just
to
really,
show.
really slow downloads.
Yeah, but it's because I just never play them again. So
Yep.
I might as well get some money back for
I
them.
respect that. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those like push and shove things which I've constantly gone back and forth with. But I remember before I switched to digital, I used to have these moments where it'd just be like, oh man, I wish I still had that game. Like, oh, I wish I could still play that again. Because inevitably what happens, like you're right, I do the same thing as you. Like I'll finish a game and then I won't touch it for 5 years. But then 5 years later, I'll just get that urge to replay it. But if it's already in my library list, then it's great. But like going out and having to refind it or whatever like that whole moment of like, oh, I wish I didn't trade that in. Just like that little bit of regret which I have, like it's just not worth the effort. But I'm also like I'm fortunate enough in my life where I don't have to worry too much about like how much video games cost and stuff anymore. So I'm very fortunate in that respect. So
that's true. Yeah,
I try not to get rid of my games as well. But
for me, it's like the most critical time for me not to spend any money because
exactly.
buying a house.
You're buying a house. Everyone's got a different lifestyle, and at the end of the day, these are not necessity items. They are premium products that they cost a lot of money. So, like when people trade them in and stuff, like I totally get it.
They're a privilege, not a right.
Exactly,
So,
and that statement that you just put right there is my main problem with like social media writ large, because they treat it like it is a right and it's not a privilege, and it's this like wonderful fluffy thing that just gets given to us for free, and everything should be free, and there should be no DLC or microtransactions or no DLC, like all this sort of stuff. I'm like, you guys are crazy. Like that's not how this works.
And the amount of blood, sweat, and tears that goes into every single production, and the way that they're treated so blasé.
Exactly.
It's just it's a bit heartbreaking sometimes when you hear people talking like they've got so much crap for a game, and it's just like, geez, man, they didn't need to make it. Like, it's just people trying their best at something that they love. That's it. You've got to keep that in your mind whenever you're talking about a video game. It's like a lot of people did their best work of their whole careers on that game. Yeah. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, people won't listen to us. They don't care. They just...
But saying that, I really shout on The Last of Us 2 in some videos.
Yeah, but the game looks amazing. That's the thing.
I know that there were so many people that, so the visuals and mechanics and some of the best silky smooth gameplay ever. So, yeah, it's groundbreaking in many ways.
Indeed.
Speaking of which, Sony have brought out some videos recently. So they brought out Housemarque, Blue Point, and Nix's.
Yeah, this is a bit of a weird sort of week for acquisitions for Sony, I guess. Like the first and like formal acquisition was for Housemarque, which is the developer of Returnal. I think they've finally proven their salt, as it were, for Sony, and they finally pulled the trigger to finally buying these people out. But they sort of made a mistake when they were announcing this, because the social media account on Twitter, I think it was Twitter that it happened on, instead of the sort of banner icon which they had, which was like "Welcome to the family," like Housemarque, instead of putting that out, they accidentally put up the image for Blue Point Games. That's awesome. They accidentally announced that they were also acquiring Blue Point. And to my knowledge, I still don't think like Sony has officially confirmed it, but they ended up removing that tweet and then replacing it with the name of Housemarque. And then a couple of days later, we then got the announcement that an acquisition was in fact coming, but it wasn't for Blue Point. It was for another company called Nix's, Nixxes. And
Nix's.
Yeah. And so three studio acquisitions by Sony. However, bit weird, because I genuinely didn't know that Blue Point and for one, I didn't know Nix's existed. No offense to developers. I had to look them up. They're a company that ports a lot of games from one generation to another. If the core development team are working on one version of the game, they'll often hire a third party, or they'll hire like an outsourcing studio to sort of make a different version of the game for a different system. And so this is what Nix's have always done, and Sony have acquired them, which is very nice of them, because they deserve to be a part of the family, especially if that's all they've been doing all these years. And I genuinely believed that Blue Point and Housemarque were already first party studios. So when I saw these announcements,
Housemarque was for sure. I was shocked. Right. I was a bit like, but they're just making Sony games. So how are they not? So how are they indie?
Yeah, I was very confused. I had a really confusing first part of my week. I was like, I swear to God, Bluepoint was already a Sony company because they've been doing Sony first party games for years. Like they did all of the Uncharted collection. They did Eco and Shadow of the Colossus remasters on the PlayStation 3. They did the Demon Souls remake. They did the Shadow of the Colossus remake. So a lot of Sony IP. And I just figured that they were already a first party. So the fact that it's taken them this long to bring them into the fold is sort of astounding to me. Like it's really.
I have a theory, Vin. I have a theory. We might not ever know, but I hope we do know. I think Xbox was sniffing around. I think Xbox were making some inquiries, making some calls, calling some people, doing some lunches, doing a bit of smooching, because they were indies. They were indie studios.
Right.
Sony were working with them, and all they ever did was Sony games, but there was nothing stopping Xbox from buying them up. Giving that studio security and like all the money for Xbox, and you're going to have a home here and you're going to have work for you to do, and you
that could well be the case. Yeah.
Change over, and Sony were very happy keeping them at arm's length, and only until Xbox started making all these acquisitions in the last couple of years that Sony were like, oh, okay, we've actually got to bring these chickens home to roost, and we've actually got to pay for them now because they could go. We thought they were safe, and we didn't have to have that security for them and keep our costs and overheads down, because that's a very Sony move.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, no, it's a weird sort of situation because it's something that should have happened a long time ago. Like based, because like my sort of shock from it, like thinking, oh my God, like I swear to God, these were already Sony studios. The fact that I already had that assumption tells me that they probably should have been bought out a long time ago. So yeah, like while like a lot of Sony like sort of sites and sort of people that are fans of Sony's platforms, obviously like they're celebrating this week. It's sort of like this should have happened a long time ago, in my opinion. Yeah. It's just very weird that it took this long. And I think you're right. Yeah. Like there might have been some exterior sort of influences to sort of push this thing along a little bit. But I mean, the last time that this happened was with Insomniac Games, who made obviously Ratchet and Clank. They've always worked on Sony IP as well. But their last game on Xbox was Sunshine. What was it? The Xbox One.
Overdrive, Sunset Overdrive.
Sunset Overdrive. That was one. That's one I'm trying to find. Yeah. That was the last game that they worked on for that stuff. But the only thing that Bluepoint have ever done for Xbox, I believe, is they ported Titanfall for one of their companies, which only happened out of just sheer chance because Titanfall ended up being bought out as an exclusive for Xbox's platforms while it was still in production. So it was sort of that was sort of like a last minute thing, and so they just like Bluepoint just happened to work for Xbox out of necessity. So it's just such a weird sort of situation. Like it really surprised me that these guys already went under the fold of all this. I'm pretty sure that's why the news sort of faded away pretty quick, like as soon as we heard about this.
Because if you were a studio, if you're like an independent studio and you were making Returnal and you'd only ever sold to Sony, it would be because of some sort of contract agreement, obviously.
Yeah.
But like, if you're an independent, surely you'd want to spread yourself out and want to get on as many consoles as possible.
Yeah, I mean, there's two sides to it. I mean, if you are a independent and you're only working for one studio, like you're constantly looking for contracts, basically. That's all you're looking for. You're not really looking for like trying to sell games, almost. Like you're trying to find you're trying to get money there and then so you can survive, almost. Yeah. So like just getting acquired by a studio to only work exclusively is a much better deal than being independent and trying to release on multiple consoles, because you basically have the security, which is way more important as a studio, I guess, like than it is to actually try and get the returns after the game's out.
Yeah, but with them being acquired, I'm guessing they've got even more security now because Sony have
infinite. They can do whatever they want.
Responsibility to keep. Well, they're an asset now rather than a contractor.
My main theory, and it runs along the same lines as what you were saying, but I think it's a bit more simple than Xbox trying to buy out a company, because Bluepoint is the big one, I guess. Like that's the one that really needs to be talked about, because the other two are just sort of like they were on the edges, and Sony just should have bought them out earlier. But Bluepoint Games are they're rumored at the moment to be making a Metal Gear Solid remake. If that is true, and Bluepoint Games made a Metal Gear Solid remake, and Kojima is in talks. Xbox. There it is.
Kojima's in talks with Xbox to do their next game as an Xbox.
Yeah, which to be clear, like Metal Gear Solid is owned by Konami. It's not owned by Kojima anyway. So, but like just the circulation of what you would consider sort of PlayStation homegrown IP is sort of that line is starting to get a bit blurred now, and I think people have started to realize that. So if Konami turned around and said, "Yeah, we want Metal Gear Solid remake on the Xbox," of course we do. Like we need more money income. So like why wouldn't it be on there? Like why would we only put it on PlayStation? They are basically cutting that deal off at the neck if that is true. So it sort of benefits Sony to do it now, which, like I said, it should have happened years ago anyway. Like it should have happened back in the day when they were making Eco and Shadow of the Colossus remasters, and when they were porting the Uncharted collection over to the PlayStation 4. When they were doing that stuff, they should have been bought out long before any of this started kicking in, to the point that their hand was probably forced. So it's sort of it's an interesting acquisition either way.
So where does this trend of companies being brought up end? So are we getting into a situation where if this carries on, there's just going to be Sony and Xbox, lots of studios that work for either one, and then all the way down the other end of the spectrum is going to be the tiny little indie studios that are just doing their own thing, that aren't big enough to be bought out, and there is no such thing as like a AA studio that sell across platform.
I understand your concern.
It's just going to get a huge divide.
I do understand your concern, but I don't think that's going to happen in a million years. And there is one reason for that, and that is companies like Unreal and Unity. Companies like this, their tools are getting better. The AI is getting better. The fact that I can now boot up Unreal Engine 5 and drag in mega scans and just make
that update
bananas.
Yeah,
it's absolutely
the
insane.
stuff people are already working on as well that seeing coming out of it is really impressive already.
Yeah, so basically what's going to happen, we're going to have this sort of weird explosion of what we call AA studios, where it's going to be teams of 20 people that are just making these really high-end looking games that will continuously they'll keep getting eaten up by these bigger studios. However, there'll be just an endless line behind them of indie developers that are turning into AA studios. So if for whatever reason,
so we're seeing the conveyor belt being made and run and start to
exactly.
Yeah.
So it's not like these two studios are just sat there and they're just eating up every single studio that they can find, and then once some studios are gone, then that's it. It's dry, and then it's just going to be little indie developers in the background, and that's it.
There's all this talent from the technology and all this,
and it's only going to get easier
growing.
and better.
The industry is exploding. It's growing really quick.
Yeah, and I don't think people realize like how big of a deal something like Unreal Engine 5 is, because not just Unreal Engine 5, like the other engines will catch up to get the same technology, but the idea of just being able to import raw photo scans into an engine and just make a game out of that sort of stuff is huge, because it basically means that a single developer can go out with a camera and make a game that's set in the real world for next to nothing, like in terms of money and development
cost. Yeah, you just need a decent camera.
You just need a decent DSLR, a memory card, and you're just taking pictures of one object at 360 above all angles. The tools will get better, so you'll be able to just import all them images into one thing. You'll be able to isolate the object, just drag it into the engine, and then just do that over and over again. You don't need a 3D artist. You don't need a concept artist. You don't need level designers, because you are the level designer. Like what is going to happen, there's going to be an explosion in
mission designers
fields.
Will exist.
Yeah. Right, there's going to be certain fields that are going to explode, like writers and voice actors. There's going to be a lot of stuff for that. But there's going to be other things which is going to cut down on a lot of people not being needed in the AA sort of studio space, such as level environment artists sort of thing. Like they will be cut down. concept artists won't be needed as much because people can drag stuff into the engine instead and just play around until they find a nice composition. Like, okay, this is sort of what we're looking for. Now let's build upon it. All this sort of stuff, like, it's just going to explode the AA market, and I don't think we'll ever get rid of that.
Greybox won't exist. You'll import your scans, have a play around in real time with like 4K next gen.
Yeah, it's basically Minecraft. It's Minecraft on steroids. That's the best way to look at this. And once it becomes more accessible and more easy to like import these assets in, and it's only going to get easier as well. Once we get to that point, it's just you're going to be able to build a AAA quality sort of style game with very few people. Like, you're not
very few budget.
You're gonna need less and less people. So, which is great. It's absolutely fantastic for developers, but it's not the best news in the world for the big publishers, obviously. But at the same time, I think you're right. I think they'll just keep eating them up anyway. So everyone benefits out of this, basically. Apart from like certain jobs, like environment artists, concept artists, stuff like that. Like the fact that like some people are going to be kind of screwed.
Well, it would be your job will kind of. I think your job will probably morph into more like directors. It would be more like direction. So you'll be like direction. Yeah, it would be more art direction rather than producing images.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. Like, I've had this conversation a few times with a few different people, and it's not that I believe that the job is completely going away, like, because that's obviously nonsense. Like, the idea of a concept artist going away it's not going to happen. 3D artists are always going to be needed for whatever reason. But I do think like the workforce of them jobs is going to shrink dramatically to the point that instead of needing 10 people to do one job, you're only going to need 2 instead. And even though they aren't going away, like, the workforce is a lot smaller. The job isn't going away, but the workforce is, if that makes sense. But
yeah, you'll never need to like model a crate or a box or a sofa or any office equipment or anything ever again.
Yeah, why would you?
Anything that exists in real world, you'll just get a scan.
Yeah,
and you probably won't even do it yourself. You'll probably just go to a library of scans, next gen scans of everything. Exactly. So like the Unreal, like
Quixel. Yeah, mega scans, Quixel. Yeah,
would just explode, or like the Unity store would just explode.
Yeah, scans. I mean, there's like in the concept art space. Just to go on a little tangent here, but in the concept art space, we have things called photo packs, which we use a lot. Like map painters use these a lot, where it's basically people have just gone out to whatever location. Like if you're working on a game that's set in Norse mythology or Vikings or whatever, then you'll go onto these websites that have these packs, which have just got a load of images from like Scandinavia, right? And there's just hundreds of images of just like random stuff. And then we take all of them images and we're like, all right, cool. And I can just drag those into my paintings and cut bits out and use it and twist it and manipulate it. And like, so I can put it into my concept piece. So then everything feels authentic. What that's basically going to do, the same thing is going to happen in the 3D space, where there's going to be basically asset packs, which we already have like kit bash kits at the moment, which are just like packs of 3D objects, but it's going to get a lot more detailed and a lot bigger in terms of like scan packs, which they're probably going to be called actually at some point. And it's just going to be, okay, you're going to have like a Scandinavian scan pack where it's just like random stuff from Scandinavia that sort of fits in your project, and then be able to drop them into the project. But why not? You know, this is the thing. Like, people will keep saying to me like, they'll never do that. Like, it feels soulless and all that sort of stuff. But if you're a massive company and you need to get a product out, you're probably going to take every shortcut that you can take, and it just makes sense that they're eventually going to like allow artists to take them shortcuts. So, and it makes sense for them to do that.
I mean, yeah, we've been doing it with trees for years.
Yeah, speed tree is the thing that I keep pointing back to. Nobody makes trees.
Trees don't look unique enough. Make them more unique.
Right. Exactly. And if anyone is like if anyone doesn't believe me on any of this, like, go and look at the progression of speed tree, and just, if you don't know anything about speed tree, just Google it and look it up, and you'll be like, oh, okay. Like, how many games use speed tree? Most of them. You know, and it's just auto-generated trees, and nobody makes trees anymore. And it's more and more stuff is going to get like that, especially when we include stuff like AI that can figure out what a bench is. And we don't have to make benches, or it knows what a crate is, and it can just develop crates. And we're going to get that as well. We're also going to get bots that are going to make 3D objects for us. That sounds weird, but it's gonna happen. Like you'll be able to feed a few images to a bot, and it'll be like, oh yeah, I can make that into 3D instantly. There you go. Thanks, dude. Move off. Put it into the game. But why not? Like, why wouldn't that be a thing? Of course, it would be a thing. It just makes sense.
Because I'd much prefer, back in my 3D environment days of like all but 2 months. Yeah, I wanted to work on the juicy bits.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't care about like shelves.
Right.
I don't care about that. I don't care about pillars that much. Can't really be bothered. I want to work on the juicy stuff that's front and center, focal point.
Mm-hmm.
That needs a bit of art direction.
Exactly.
That needs a bit of a human eye, and that's related to what is going to be the emotional connection that's happening in the game. That sort of stuff. That's all stuff that people are good at. We're not so much good at the grunt work, are we?
Yeah.
So,
but yeah, to sort of wrap all that up, though, it's basically all that technology which we've been discussing in the past sort of 10 minutes. That is the thing that is going to allow the AA market to explode. So there'll always be new developers coming up. There'll always be new projects coming up, which is great because it's great for developers. It's great for consumers as well because there's going to be way more games for us to play that are all going to be higher quality. And it's nothing but good news.
So it sounds like you know what you're talking about, Vin.
Maybe not.
Which brings me on.
Come back into 5 years. We'll see.
Well, I think you know what you're talking about, and it sounds like there's been some other people the other day that would agree with you. So, Professor Vin,
Professor Vin.
You did an online lecture. Was it yesterday?
Okay, I'm losing sense
yesterday?
of time. It was yesterday. No.
Yesterday.
No, day before yesterday. It was Friday. Yeah. So
it was Friday.
Day before
yesterday. It's Sunday today.
It is.
So yeah, you did it on Friday. You did a lecture with our old university, Norwich University of the Arts.
I did.
There was an old one of our old lecturers there that you spoke to, Nigel.
Yeah. So
how was it? Was it freaky? Was it scary? Was it fun? Was it
all of that in one? I guess.
Okay.
Like, that's the best way to describe it. I was very nervous. It was very strange. It was odd. It was just weird sort of bookend. I was sort of explained to you. I explained a little bit of this in the pre-show, but like this moment where all the students are in the room, because I was talking to master's degree students, which they were above us as well, like when we were at uni.
Yeah.
So that they were like, even that is weird.
Like they were like the good kids. They were like, oh man.
They actually knew
rich ones. They're
closer
loans.
to being in the games industry than us. But there was this weird moment of like all the students piled in, and the sort of lecturer Nigel was talking, and I sort of fell into that whole I'm a student too sort of thing. I just like automatically fell into that.
Sit there and pay attention.
Right, and take my notes. Like, oh yeah, I need to write this down because I need to remember this for my final year project and stuff like that. And then there's this awkward moment. It was like, all right, Vin, you ready? And I'm like, oh yeah, crap. Like, I'm talking.
Like, I'm telling the people what to do, yeah. So that was like 10 years ago we graduated.
9 years ago, yeah.
Was it 9?
9.
I think it was 10.
2012. Yeah. May 2012.
2012, of course it was. 9 years ago. Okay, fine. So, yes. What was the lecture, in a nutshell, about?
I was just basically, I presented them a load of pictures of your face, and I was just like, all right, don't look like this, and try to get through it. No, I'm joking.
Don't look like this guy. Don't make his decision. Definitely don't make his career decisions with the game industry. That's a story for another podcast.
Yeah, don't sue companies. No, it was very much just. It was very strange, and the main reason why it was strange because I don't like talking about sort of how I've gotten about where I am right now, sort of thing, and it was very much just showing some of my early drawings from like 2006, which are just impressively terrible. Like looking back on them and pulling them out of the archives. They're not. No, they are. No, I will show you a couple of them from like 2006. They were impressively bad. And just showing the sort of progress of like how I got to the point where I am now.
Like how far you got to start point and end point, yeah.
Which sounds like a lot, and it was like 70 slides or something of just images, and that was it. I didn't show any text on any of my slides because I hate when people do that.
Because they say what's written on the text anyway. Right. And it's like, well,
it's like the notes are for you, not the crowd, sort of thing. I've always hated that. But that was basically it. It was basically going through my journey of my journey. Yeah, sort of the journey of going from before university all the way to where I am right now, and then at the end I gave, I think it was like 8 pieces of advice which I wanted to give to the students, just so they like understood, because there was certain things which I just did not know about when I left uni and stuff, so I wanted to sort of throw that out there.
Was it set up your own video game podcast and
right.
talk about video games?
Well, the last point was definitely go and listen to this podcast, because we need the numbers. No, I'm joking. No, I did not mention this podcast at all. But
I was looking at the analytics, hoping to see a spike after Friday. But
no, it was. They actually know about it already, because I'm in the alumni Discord server for Norwich.
I don't know there was an alumni Discord.
Yeah, I've only just joined it recently. It's like pretty new. I'll send you a link though. And
I'll join that.
Yeah, I joined that, and I actually posted up our talk which we had about Assassin's Creed Japan, and how all that sort of stuff happened. Like I posted that episode in there, so we probably got a spike from them guys, because they were all super interested in that. But it was basically a long version of that talk, and just because that talk really only, when we spoke about that in the episode, I think it was only from like 2014 I spoke about until now, and I sort of, well, not now, but getting my job at Ubisoft in Montreal.
Just getting job at Ubisoft.
So there's only that slice
you can't
of
talk
it
about anyway afterwards. So
right, but like everything from after the events, I also included, and then everything before it as well. So it was just an expanded version of that, basically. The director's cut, if you will.
Director's cut.
It was the director's cut of the talk.
So was I the big evil corporation that was only wanting to talk about a little bit? Okay. Yeah. I see. I get it. Okay.
No, it was cool. It was definitely interesting.
What was the response like? Was there much like interaction? Did you get any like interesting questions? Was there interesting takes that you took away from it? What was that like? Or was it like, here's my presentation, thanks very much?
Yeah, no, we took questions afterwards. I was trying to be like quite in depth about everything anyway, so there wasn't really that many questions. It was more about like how I went about certain concepts. A couple of people brought up burnout and how people sort of deal with that.
I thought you meant Burnout Paradise, like video game. Like, what do you think about Burnout series or video?
Like artistic burnout. So like when if you've overworked to the point that you're like mentally can't take it anymore, sort of thing. Because people do go through that, and they were sort of asking me about that, because there was definitely opportunities where I probably should have burnt out at some point in my career, but I didn't for reasons.
You are a bit of a machine. I don't know how you can do what you can do in the day, then work on your personal projects, and then on the side, like learning more Japanese.
It's all different. That's why. If it was all the same type of thing, I would 100% burn out. But even something like the subject matter of stuff that I'm drawing, if that's different, then
because it's like a palette cleanser then, rather than
and that's why I started learning code. That's why like I'm learning more Japanese on the side and stuff, and it's just because it's all different stuff. Like it's fine. Like it doesn't really interact with each other to the point that it builds up too much. But yeah, they were asking questions about that, and sort of like, how do you deal with that? Because there's this weird myth in the video games industry where if you're wanting to break in, then you have to like constantly do it over, and like you have to run home from work,
you have to
work like 7 hours, and you have to like non-stop until 3:00 in the morning, and you have to get. It's a myth. Don't do that. Like if you're interested in the games industry and you're listening to this, then please do not ever do that.
Don't burn the candle at both ends, because it just hurts your health.
Yeah.
Long term and short term. It just damages both.
Well, it damages the work as well. That's the problem. Like it's diminishing returns, because like if you're tired and exhausted or burnt out, like the work will get worse. It's just a fact. Like there's no way around it, and that's the last thing that any art director or any team wants. So don't ever, just don't do it. And it was sort of like putting a full stop on that. That was the main sort of questions which I asked about. But yeah, no, it was good.
Man, the amount of coffee and the amount of Red Bull and the amount of Monster energy drinks, I got to a point where I would get shakes and I would get like convulsions. I got to a point where a tendon in my hand fused because I was using a Mac mouse to do my 3D work. I don't know why I got a Mac. And so my finger would like click. It would either be there or there. It could never be here.
Yeah.
So it would either be there or there.
Yeah, that's another discussion for a different time. But I definitely had a caffeine overdose on our last project. But we'll talk about that another time.
On your the third year project.
Yeah, on the final project when we were handed in. But yeah, we'll get into that another time.
We'll definitely need to talk about that, your overdose and what happened.
Indeed.
Definitely.
Yeah, that was a day.
But yeah, it's a good sort of bookend to your career, really. Now that your career's over.
Yeah, it was just a weird. That's the best way to put it. It was a weird bookend. You know, it was just a strange moment of like, oh my god, like
come 360 full circle.
Yeah, what are those people now? Ugh, like
you're doing the lecture of people going, I wish I was like him.
Right.
Everyone on that Zoom was like, I wish I was you. How does that feel?
Odd. Just weird, you know, like just really, really weird. Because I still felt like one of the students, like when the lecture started. Because obviously I know Nigel and like know him as the lecturer of the course.
The lecturer, pay attention to him. He'll be marking your work.
Like he's the dude that's like gonna like give me the first class honors hopefully one day, sort of thing.
What did you get
I got
for
a first.
Uni? You got a first, yes.
I scraped a first. That's what I got.
I can't remember if I scraped. I think I did scrape it. Yes,
you must have, because
73.
The way that the when we were graduating, we're all sat there in our gowns in the hall at the end. I think they actually ordered us by our grades in that.
Really?
Yeah. So it was like me, you, and I think Ollie was next to me. And it was like all the people that got first were like on the end near the door, and I was like, are they trying to kick us out as quickly as we can so we can get a job first or something? I don't really understand what's happening.
Is it so we get the best claps?
Right. Yeah. So because we have to walk the furthest. Right. There you go. Yeah.
It dies down after. Do you know I fell down the stairs?
You fell down the stairs
at graduation.
That's great. I missed that. I wish I saw it.
It was funny. It was loud, and the claps stopped, and and my heart sunk into my mouth, and I didn't hurt myself or anything. I thought I might have broken my leg or something, but no, I was absolutely fine. The adrenaline, I think, kept me in one piece. But I fell down the steps after I shook MC's hand, and
awesome.
And then, of course, the year after, it was John Hurt giving the handshakes.
I know. We got some random dude who I can't even remember his name.
He did something, and he was like a businessman, and he was like an honorary degree.
Yeah, he was getting a PhD.
Like a local businessman, PhD.
Yeah.
But I don't think it was. I'm not sure if it was even anything artistic, or he like an architecture firm, or I don't know.
But I don't remember him. I don't remember his name. I don't know what he did.
He wasn't as famous as John Hurt.
He was not. And John Hurt ended up, I think he passed away a few years later as well. So
only a few years later. So there was a few kids there's a few kids that got to shake his hand and get their degree from him, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, he was a NUA alumni as well, I think. So
yeah, and he was a provost for a long time, so he put a lot of money into the university.
Yeah, very cool guy. So, if you don't know who John Hurt is, he's the he's an actor. He's been in loads.
Tinker Tailor, Soldier Spy, 1984.
He's in Harry Potter. Probably most known like by like non-British people from Harry Potter, I guess, is the Ollivander.
Right. See the
crazy wand
guy.
Wand seller, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah.
But that is weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's just bizarre.
It was a very strange experience. Like it was. I had a lot of fun. I'm glad that I did it. It was just very strange to sort of talk about myself and how all that sort of came about, and it was just very odd. Like being in that point of reference to people, you know, like I never know quite how to handle that sort of situation. So it was odd.
Because to me, it's weird because those lectures that we had when we were students, they are still the things that live in my head. Yeah. So I still have those bits of nuggets of information or certain images.
That's the main reason why I was nervous. Because we do a podcast every week. I've done podcasts for years and stuff. I'm absolutely fine talking to people. It doesn't matter how many people are watching. Like I've done speeches in front of hundreds of people before, but this is probably the most nervous I've been in a while, just purely because I know that these students are probably going to sit there and think about this stuff for years. Because I remember like some of the lectures that we went to, they're still in the back of my head. Like I remember like the first year I was there in our you not in the first year that I was with you, but like there was another like the first year.
The year before, yeah.
Yeah, I like there was a developer from the Getaway games that came in, and he showed us some footage from like the Getaway 3, and he was talking about his experience of how he broke into the industry and stuff like that, and that stuck with me for a long time, and I knew that, and it was sort of like, oh crap, I better not mess this up, I better not like say anything that's wrong or like just sort of exaggerate it or anything like that. It needs to be very clear because like they will remember this
because they'll be hanging on your words and remember them for a long time, and their decisions will be influenced based on that. It's quite a big thing. It's quite a profound thing. Like influencing a lot of people in a very critical point in their lives is kind of a powerful.
Yeah, no, it's. I mean, it's something I've always been interested in. Like, I'll probably look into that sort of career like later on in life, especially like when I get sick of being in production for a while. Like, I wouldn't mind being a university lecturer at some point. But you could do
the tours and stuff. You could, digitally go around and offer your services. You could do that on the side.
Yeah.
To add another string to your bow. Gosh, how many have you got now?
Too many. Well, there's. I think Nando's is the top tier, though. That was the.
You could always go back to Nando's if it does.
I actually could. I actually
concept
could.
artist stuff doesn't work out. You could go back to Nando's. Do they have them in Canada? Are they in Canada?
They are in Canada, but they're not in Quebec because Quebec is a French province, and they don't allow anywhere to have.
It's not French restaurants.
Right. Exactly. Pretty much. And if you do have a restaurant here, then you have to change everything to French, which is super annoying.
Nando's.
Nando's. No, it's funny. Like even a KFC. KFC is in Quebec, but it's not called KFC. It's called PFC.
Le KFC. Yeah.
It's called PFC because P like poulet as in like chicken.
Oh, poulet.
So they have to change it to PFC, which is the most annoying thing in human history. It's just like, why?
Crazy.
Like just put the French underneath it. But no, there's laws here to like keep English off signs and stuff. It's very politicized. It's very odd.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's another discussion for a different time, though.
Yeah, the French also don't like spice. I took a French girl to Nando's a couple of years ago now, actually.
Well, you're not going over anymore, so it didn't work out that well.
Oh no, it's just a friendly thing.
Oh, okay.
But I needed to show her Nando's. Like it's like a British thing.
Staple. Yeah.
Yeah, but in France they don't like spice, so spice is a strange concept to them, and they don't understand our fascination with it. So,
No, there are certain things like now that I've been out of England for a while, it's sort of like let's get smashed and then go to like an Indian curry place and get the hottest thing we can find. Just that concept, like because I've been out of the country so long now, I'm just like, yeah, that is really weird. Like there's no benefit to eating like super spicy food after you've gotten trashed, like this whatsoever.
Of course there is.
No, there isn't. You're only making it worse.
Feels good.
No, it does not.
At the time.
Feels
good at the time.
Yeah. And then the next day, how'd you feel, Chris?
Well, both ends, not good.
Right, exactly.
But it's like I don't know. The drink helps with that process to begin with. Like you don't care at the time, so I guess that's it. Drink makes you not care at the time.
That might be the most British thing you've ever said, Chris. So it's okay.
Yeah. Oh man, I could really go with getting pissed.
No, don't do it. Don't do it.
You're making me want it. I miss it.
Yeah. No, the only thing that I really miss from England in terms of fast food stuff is kebab places, like a proper kebab house. Like I miss those more than anything. Getting a proper doner kebab is actually really difficult to find.
See, you don't know as well. In the last sort of 10 years, there's been this resurgence of like posh kebabs, like Greek restaurants popping up all over the shop, and like a posh Greek, like Turkish food.
There's a lot of those places here.
Oh, okay.
But it's just like just getting a doner kebab with the crappy meat in it, with lettuce.
With the crappy meat. Oh, the crappy lamb
and the hot sauce.
And like the hot sauce.
That's all I want.
Yeah.
And it's actually really difficult to find. Like we found a place which does like the meat properly, but they haven't got the bread properly. And it's just like you find elements of things.
Half an iceberg lettuce, half a red cabbage.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Yeah, there's plenty of stuff to eat on my list when I do visit the UK. Hopefully soon, but we'll see.
If you have a doner kebab though, after like 10 plus years of not having one, you might not get back to Canada.
Yeah.
So that's maybe just have half. A small one.
Yeah, with my half a pint as well, because I'm not used to alcohol anymore. That's fair. Yeah, that is fair.
Right. Okay, I think that kind of covers everything this week.
Yep. Yeah, we
Unless
can
you've
wrap
got
this
anything
up.
else you wanted to talk about?
No, I don't think so. I mean, it was quite a light week for video games news and discussion. So hopefully within the next couple of weeks we find out something that Sony and EA are up to. I know EA have broken a little bit of news, which wasn't really worth mentioning, but it was what you call it?
They're not going to talk about.
Well, they're not going to talk about. Yeah, they're not going to be showing Dragon Age or I can't remember what the other thing was. Mass Effect, I think it was. Like they're not going to be showing anything Mass Effect or Dragon Age.
Or was it Dead Space? Was it Dead Space? No, that's not that. That's not.
No, they still haven't confirmed anything from Dead Space yet. So, but that was the only thing that they.
It's like, what are they going to talk about?
Battlefield.
Left?
A lot of Battlefield and
know.
FIFA, Madden,
Ugh.
Skate.
Yeah.
They'll probably be talking about Skate a lot because they announced that last year.
Fine. We know that this last year people can drag out stuff that I'm not interested in. That's kind of like the theme for this year.
It's been a bit of a dry E3, and I'm not sure if Sony are going to have too much more either at this point. If I'm honest,
They don't need to now. They can just give up.
Yeah, they've sort of got God of War coming. They've got Horizon, and they've got Ghost of Tsushima. It's like take this and shut up sort of thing. So it's like, all right, cool. Yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah, that's fair enough. It just doesn't feel sensational. Doesn't feel magical. No. Maybe it's Corona. Who knows?
Who knows? Yeah. We'll see. We shall see.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what we talk about next week, because at the moment we've got nothing, and it might be chock full of EA stuff. It might be chock full of other Sony stuff.
Yeah, still early days. It's beginning of July anyway, so I don't think EA is until like the 22nd. So hopefully Sony go a little bit before that. That would be nice, but remains to be seen.
But until then, Vin, where can we find you on social media?
Yep, you can find me on Twitter. I am at Hillthought Games. You can find me on there and some of my finger paintings. I also post on ArtStation, which is Vin Hill Art on there. You can give me a follow and I'll give you a follow back. I always like seeing good art. I'm actually practicing a lot recently with new Blender tools and stuff. So I've got a few new concepts up already. I'm working on another one right now. So yeah, give me a follow if you are interested in that sort of stuff.
And the stuff I saw you do recently of your rework of the little character on the cliff, I'm loving that stuff. It's really nice because you've shown lots of the same image, but it's all kind of looking different. So
yeah, no, that was
your teeth into.
Yeah, that was a hard image to do, just purely because to give a little bit of backstory to people that don't know about it. I've remade that image 4 times now, and this is the 4th iteration of it, and I remake it like every 5 years or something. So I sort of try and keep the development of them together. But I'm probably going to post up a little bit more about that sort of like the actual process of all 4 of them at some point. But yeah, it was fun. It was a good one to get to. But how about you, Chris? Where can people find you?
So on Twitter, I've been posting up my my indie game focus find on Twitter, some progress on there, which is at Acrylic Pixel. I probably should putting it on my YouTube channel, which is Acrylic Pixel, but I just can't. Just busy.
It's too much work, man.
I'm just doing this podcast as well, so it takes time. Which you can listen to this on all good, regular, normal podcast services.
Right.
Because we're using Anchor to distribute, but also YouTube if you're watching us. Those are the only 2 places. But yes, like, comment, subscribe. Let us know what you thought of the episode, or what you like to see, or what you want to see. And yeah, all that good stuff. Smash the like button. Or press it lightly, your choice.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
But yeah, until next time then.
All right. Ta-ta.
Take care. Bye-bye.